The unprecedented pace of technological advancement witnessed over the past few decades has been nothing short of mind-bending. Ubiquitous modern gadgets and applications that we now interact with on an almost constant basis were completely unrecognizable just a generation or two ago, when they were first conceptualized and gradually introduced to awestruck consumer masses. In this epic deep dive video, we will thoroughly explore the radical transformations undergone by some of the most vital, pivotal technologies inexorably interwoven into the fabric of our daily lives. Our overarching goal is to provide viewers with the most comprehensive perspective possible into the almost inconceivable exponential leaps these modern marvels have achieved in such an eye blink of human history. We will commence this technological voyage by closely analyzing the breakneck evolution of digital data storage infrastructure and capacities over time. Today, most average consumers predominantly rely upon ultra-compact USB flash drives, secure digital SD memory cards, and ever-expanding remote cloud data servers to indefinitely store gargantuan troves of everything from personal photos, home videos, documents, messages, and virtually limitless other mixed media. However, it is nearly impossible to truly comprehend that not so long ago in history's grand scheme, only primitive paper punch cards were used to manually input the most basic data and elementary programming instructions into sprawling early electronic computers occupying entire rooms. This extremely hands-on driven process saw minor improvements when giant 50s and 60s era computers were constructed that could physically hold just a few megabytes of data at maximum capacity. Barely enough to hold a typical pop song even in a highly compressed format. It was not until the 1970s that compact floppy magnetic diskettes finally hit mainstream consumer markets. However, these flexible disks could only reliably hold approximately 1 MB worth of digital data, far less than required to even store a single moderately compressed modern smartphone photo. But flash forward to current times, and one can now easily and cheaply procure tiny micro-sized memory cards boasting previously unthinkable 512 GB storage capacities. A truly mesmerizing 500,000-fold increase from those ancient punch card origins. And unbelievably, most technology trends show no signs of plateauing on this exponential hockey stick growth curve trajectory anytime soon. Another prominent modern technology that virtually every human being on Earth interacts with on an almost moment-to-moment basis are mobile phones. In current pocket-sized computers masquerading as phones have evolved light years beyond early predecessors just a quarter century ago. It is difficult to truly comprehend that back in 1973, a Motorola researcher named Martin Cooper first unveiled the world's inaugural cell phone by making a public call on a handheld device weighing over 2.3 pounds. Just one short decade later in the early 1980s, as the first commercial mobile devices were brought to market by companies like Nokia, these enormous devices still weighed consumers down, cost nearly $4,000 adjusted for inflation, and could only sustain approximately 30 minutes of talk time on a single charge. Contrast those severe early limitations against today's ubiquitous and indispensable pocket supercomputer smartphones brimming with sci-fi-like capabilities unimaginable to even the brightest experts a generation ago. Modern mobile phones effortlessly surf the internet at blazing broadband speeds that early 90s era personal computers still connected to dial-up modems could scarcely conceive of. They capture pristinely sharp high-resolution photos and high-definition video, so impressively that early Hollywood film crew equipment appears positively archaic by comparison. And they can run immensely detailed, graphically intensive interactive applications and video games that make early 90s era polygon-based consoles seem like digital dinosaurs. The relentless improvement rate shows no signs of slowing for one of the most revolutionary, ubiquitous personal piece of technology ever conceived. Literature and media consumption methods have likewise been massively disrupted by the tidal wave of recent technological upheavals. But perhaps no analog medium has been impacted more directly than the simple human act of reading. Just 20 years ago, electronic paper display technologies were just being experimented with in labs that could closely mimic key visual characteristics typified by actual physical paper products. But fast forward a remarkably short period of time, and iconic Amazon chief Jeff Bezos soon revolutionized the entire digital reading landscape by launching the company's first Kindle electronic paper tablet in 2007. This dynamic new device was perfectly positioned to fundamentally transform reading forever, as it could reliably hold up to 200 electronic book titles in a slim, compact form factor. Jumping forward to current year 2023, over 50% of total consumer publishing revenues in industrialized countries now stem directly from the explosive sales of ebooks and dedicated streamlined reader devices alone. So while there still remains an irreplaceable nostalgic sensory experience that comes from curling up with venerable printed books, these digital reading devices have undeniably made the worlds of literature infinitely more conveniently accessible than ever previously imagined in human history. And most critically, the relentless driving engine behind all modern technological wonders, we continue to take for granted our computing devices. Both stationary desktop computers along with their ultra-portable laptop cousins. Electronic computing machines in the early 1940s would seem completely alien to denizens of today. These sprawling modern dinosaurs occupied entire dedicated rooms and only possessed limited capabilities to conduct basic arithmetic operations. Personal desktop computers remotely recognizable to modern eyes only gradually appeared in average consumer living rooms and offices within the past 40 years, originally commanding dollar sums north of $20,000 in today's inflation-adjusted currency when first introduced. And even then, their paltry processing muscle and storage capacities appear smaller than tiny insect bites by current standards. Consider Apple's newest cutting-edge Mac-Do high-performance desktop tablets. Boast gargantuan 1.5 terabyte ultra-speed, solid-state drive capacities. This figure represents disk space an impossible 1.5 million times greater than those machines of less than 50 years ago. And when rated by pure processing power, the Mac Pro's bleeding-edge 12-core central processor boasts benchmark synthetic benchmark horsepower scores nearly 240 times faster than even the original pioneering Apple Macintosh desktop computer from just over 3 decades ago, introduced in 1984. And remarkably, class-leading laptop computers have enjoyed an equally aggressive exponential growth curve, closely tracking that of their impressive desktop predecessors. The first bulky luggable laptop prototypes built in the early to mid-1980s consistently struggled under the burden of their descriptive nickname, often tipping the scales at heavyweights surpassing 20 pounds. Compared to today's amazingly lightweight, wafer-thin premium laptops boasting unimaginable performance stats, those early ancestors seem closer relics dug from ancient history than mere decades ago. Modern laptops like Apple's Felty category-defining MacBook Air models boast solid-state drives with 500 times the digital hoarding capacity 30 years ago, capable of swallowing hundreds of HD movies with gusto. And thanks to immense leaps in processor and battery efficiencies year after year, their powerful mobile architectures offer more number-crunching muscle than warehouse-sized supercomputers worth millions from just the 1980s, all while sipping barely noticeable trickles of electricity. Even the previously humble handheld calculator has seen enormous functional leaps from a raw computing perspective since first unveiled well over a century ago. The earliest known mechanical calculators, engineered as far back as the early 1800s, utilize intricate configurations of precision gears and levers, often steam engine powered, to reliably perform basic arithmetic calculations. Substantially more advanced, room-sized computing beasts were constructed during height of World War II conflict to simulate ballistics trajectories and aerodynamic profiles. Feats far exceeding ability of any human group with just pencil and paper. Today, in sharp contrast, iterations of scientific calculators have been sufficiently miniaturized and streamlined using electronics to be conveniently embedded into ubiquitous mobile phones and compact wristwatches the average consumer slides on without a second glance when heading out the door each morning. Finally, display and broadcast visual media delivery technologies have realized equally dramatic enhancements since fuzzy, ghostly beginnings over a century ago, with perhaps no greater example than the ubiquitous television. The first mechanical TV prototypes in the late 1920s relied upon spinning discs and cleaver optics to painstakingly scan and reproduce coarse 30-line resolution imagery. so pathetically low definition and high distortion that barely anything could be confidently discerned from displayed output alone. The first proper electronic television sets introduced in the 1930s significantly improved upon these humble beginnings by boosting scanline resolutions up to 405 lines. Far lower than today's standards, but a monumental increase nonetheless compared against mechanical sets. But comparing even these early QWERTY-based electronic TVs against today's ubiquitous high dynamic range, 4K LCD and OLED flat screens found in modern living rooms shows scarcely believable differences. Contemporary 4K HDR television sets can easily display unthinkably sharp image frames with pixel densities nearly 175 times greater than those static-filled analog signals broadcast over radio waves during the golden early days of television history. This immense resolution boost directly translates into utterly gorgeous, almost surreally lifelike clarity when viewing modern movies, series, or video games streamed globally to home television entertainment systems today. So spectacular viewers frequently struggle differentiating screen contents from adjacent reality. In closing, as extensively examined throughout our journey, covering the realms of digital storage, mobile communications, literature, digitization, desktop and mobile computing, basic calculation, television and media broadcasting. Sheer scale of quantitative capability enhancements secured within the past 100 years alone can only be described as astronomical in proportion. And incredibly, despite already achieving sci-fi heights of progress handed down from dreams of fantasy alone a few generations prior. Expert prognosticators nearly unanimously agree these exponential growth curves across all technological sectors show zero hints of slowing or plateau anytime over the foreseeable horizon. Much akin to a boulder racing downhill, picking up kinetic velocity at continuously accelerating speeds until encountering the valley below. Similarly, humanity's technological prowess appears destined to keep compounding upon itself at warp speed, thanks to machines enhancing their own means of evolution. I sincerely hope this far-reaching glimpse into the not-so-distant past history of several truly revolutionary modern technologies has revealed to viewers an amplified sense of awe and appreciation for the many wondrous innovations we so casually enjoy incorporated into our everyday 21st century lives, and how these commonplace gadgets and applications today would have resembled alien technology from the distant future alone to experts just a generation or two ago. Please share in the comments section any additional remarkable technology evolutions from history you would love for us to cover in more detail in future videos. Or feel free to speculate on which current bleeding-edge technologies you foresee making exponentially greater leaps in practical capabilities over the course of the next 50 to 100 years. Self-driving car ubiquity, ultra-high-speed global satellite internet, brain computer interface implants, distant-sphere solar panel satellites supplying limitless clean energy, permanent human colonies established on Mars. Sky's the limit. No perspective too ambitious to consider given the precedent already set. Thank you so much for watching this epic technology retrospective of then versus now. Let the past progress fuel visions to motivate future generations, pushing technology advancement ever faster towards previously unthinkable horizons.